This is an overview of the table toolbar in IRSA Viewer and other IRSA tools that have the same look and feel. I'm going to tackle these topics not necessarily in the order in which they appear here, but probably in the order of complexity, just because I think it will be easier to understand them in that order. When you load a table into IRSA Viewer, if it recognizes that you have positions like RA and DEC, it will also overlay the catalog on an image and make a plot of RA and DEC. If you have a table that you've uploaded that doesn't have positions, it will make a plot just of the first two numerical columns that it finds. In this case, there's only two columns and they're both numbers, so it just made a plot of the two columns that it found. There are other movies that go through images and the image toolbar, plots and the plot toolbar, but this video is about tables and the table toolbar. So let's make this bigger. Okay, so the first thing to notice is that this is a big catalog. There's 17,500 rows in this catalog. We're looking at pages of 100 sources at a time. It takes 176 pages to go through the 17,500 sources. So I can scroll through this catalog one page at a time. I can jump all the way to the end, or I can jump to the beginning. Now, especially since there are 17,500 sources, it's not showing necessarily all the individual sources on the image or in the plot, because there's just a lot of sources. And so if you want to see individual sources on the image, you have to zoom in far enough that it's going to show that. But on the header of the tab here, it's giving us some pretty important information. In this case, because this is a catalog that I obtained from IRSA, it's telling us that this is a WISE catalog from the all-WISE delivery. And then there's some alphanumeric gobbledygook that may or may not make any sense to you. But then if I let the mouse hover, I get the rest of that header. And it's reminding me that I did a cone search of radius 1800 arcseconds. And this color swatch here reminds me that that's the color it's using on the image. That's pretty obvious in this case, but if I have a whole bunch of catalogs loaded, it's really helpful to be able to so quickly get a reminder of this color goes with this catalog and this color goes with this catalog. But it seems to have chosen really two very, very close colors. So in order to change colors, you can just click on the swatch and I can pick a new color from this section, from the rainbow, or from predefined colors here. I can also put in a hex code, or I can change the individual RGB layers there. I can also change the transparency. So if I would like to make the points more transparent, I can change that value. But now that I've changed that catalog to yellow, I can change the Gaia catalog to green. And now I have 4 different colors for the catalogs that are overlaid here. And you can see that the numbers in the hierarchical catalog overlays are offset so that I can more easily see that in this one tile, the numbers of sources that are coming from all of these individual catalogs. And of course, if I zoom in far enough, then it will show me all the individual sources. But zooming out to look at the hierarchical tiles is okay too. Let's go back to the simpler case where we have only one catalog. If I want to get rid of a catalog, I can just click on the X. All of the headers, all of the contents of the catalog are set by whoever delivered the catalog that I'm loading. In this case, if I wanted to learn more about all these individual columns, I would need to go to the WISE All WISE delivery document. If I let my mouse hover over any of these, I get a little bit more information. This row is pretty long. There's a lot of columns that are part of the WISE All WISE catalog. If I go up here to the Details tab, that is a vertical representation of this one horizontal row. So if you're working with a catalog that is new to you, it might be useful to consult the Details tab because it has the description, which is what you get when you let your mouse hover. It has the description up in a way that you can look at it in a more permanent fashion. But because this table is a table just like this, you can search and sort this table too. So if you want to limit this table to just be the profile fitted magnitudes and the error on those, I've searched just on the string M Pro. As I scroll through the catalog here, the values up in that Details tab change. So this is really useful for pulling out important information in the Details tab when you're working with the big catalog down here. Let's go back and make this big again. This table here, just like all the other tables, is sortable too. If you click on any of these columns, it will sort the catalog in increasing value. Click it again, it sorts decreasing, and then click it again, it goes back to the original order. Then these cells at the top, those are filters. To toggle them, if they're not immediately available to you, toggle them by clicking that icon. Now you can put in filters. You can put in, for example, if I want just the high signal to noise sources, I can put in greater than 10 for WISE 1 signal to noise, WISE 2 signal to noise, WISE 3 signal to noise, and WISE 4 signal to noise. So now I have just the high signal to noise sources and many fewer sources left in the catalog. I can add a new column. That's what this icon does. I can add a new column. So if I just want to put in here high SNR, I can use a preset function, set the filtered rows to true and the rest to false. So if I add a new column, now I have a new column that says high SNR. If I cancel the filters, that column sticks around. So rather than going through and resetting a complicated filter, I can just simply recover that filter by filtering on this new column I've created. And now I recover that high signal to noise filter. Now you've already seen how to toggle filters, how to impose some filters, and how to cancel filters. The numbers here tell you how many filters have been imposed. So I'm going to cancel those filters. Some of the other icons here, these arrows make the table take up the entire browser area and then close to go back to the prior view. The gear there is another way to impose filters. The regular column options gives you the description more easily. This toggle allows you to turn off and on columns from view. So if you don't care about some of the columns that are shown by default, you can manually turn them off, and then you don't have to look at them anymore in the view that you have. You can also impose filters from here. You can turn off units from the view that we have over here. You can see the name of the column, the units of the column, and the data type. You can toggle those things off and on if you don't want to look at them. This is just another way of toggling the filters. The advanced filter here, by default, when I put in filter on each of the signal to noise columns, those filters were ANDed together. Let me see if I can reimpose at least two of them quickly to show you what that looks like. So if I do that filter again, and this filter again, and then go back to the gear, you can see that I've got two constraints currently imposed. I can copy that to the clipboard. I can clear it. I can also impose additional constraints. And moreover, I can apply more sophisticated constraints that are not just ANDed together, but I can combine constraints with OR. The basic syntax is consistent with SQL to impose additional constraints. You can also change the page size. You can ask for it to give you more than 100 rows per page. However, if you have it much more than 100 rows per page, it might bring your browser to its knees. This next icon, the eye with a circle in it, has some basic information about the table. If you're having problems and you need to contact the IRSA help desk, this is the kind of information that we'll need to help you diagnose what's going wrong. If you want to actually copy this long URL, this icon copies it to your clipboard. This is also metadata information about the table itself. We've already covered a little bit about adding a column. I used a preset function earlier. You can also enter an expression. So, for example, if you want to do WISE 1 minus WISE 2, you have to have a name for the column that doesn't involve any special characters, but then you can do W1MPRO minus W2MPRO and tell it I would like three digits past the decimal point, units of magnitudes, and then add a column, and it will give an additional column. When you go to save the table, you can save it in a variety of formats. There's IPAC table file, which is just plain ASCII, but with a particular syntax. Comma-separated values or CSV files move transparently into a lot of applications, including Microsoft Excel or other spreadsheets. tab separated values. There's a variety of VO table formats. Parquet files are specifically designed for very large tables. And then there's region files. If you want to export this catalog to be able to overlay it on an image in DS9, this is the format you would use. This is the file name. You can save it to your local disk wherever your browser is configured to save files, or the IRSA workspace. Now this toggle, save the table as displayed, means with any filters you have imposed, any new columns you've created, or you can save the table as originally retrieved. Because I have created 2 new columns, save table as displayed will save these 2 new columns. However, if I save it and then turn around and upload it later into an IRSA tool, it will preserve the information that is shown here, that these columns are a different color. It will preserve that information knowing that these are new additional derived columns, not columns that were originally part of the catalog. This toggle simply goes back and forth from text to the Firefly table format. We've already covered the filters. This is supposed to be like a microscope, but I think of it as sort of an action button. What this does is launch additional searches. You can send the entire table as an upload to TAP. TAP is Table Access Protocol. It's a kind of virtual observatory search. I'm not going to do that for 14,000 sources right now. For just this one row, I can go and launch a TAP search. I can go and launch a NED, a NASA Extragalactic Database search. I can launch a Simbad search. This will launch Simbad and put the results in this tool. I can launch Simbad in a new browser tab. I can also launch a FITS search within IRSA Holdings or a HIPS search at this location. So this launches additional searches based on the contents of the table. I just want to highlight yet again that, of course, there is online help with lots of information specifically about tables and the table toolbar, with lots more information as well, specifically in the case of catalogs, not just tables in general.